Hello, this is Jim Kinney with the Republican and MassLive.com. I'm tagging along today on a Springfield City-to-City tour of the Pioneer Valley. City2City is a group that takes business and civic leaders on tours of other communities. They've been to Bethlehem in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They've been to Greensboro, North Carolina. They've Chattanooga, Tennessee, and today they're visiting themselves. And we've got quite a tour. We just came from the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, and where John Believa updated us on a major renovation project. And now we're headed over to the MGM, where the MGM site, where Alex Dixon's going to give us an update, and we're literally going to drive around the block a little. But right now, you can tell where we are. The renovations at the Basketball Hall of Fame begin in just a few weeks, in January, where they're going to start doing some lobby work and some work on the dome. And then in 2020, a major renovation. Believa talked about the fundraising for that, and he talked about the need for it to update a 20-year-old technology that's gonna look old next to what MGM's doing. So they're doing that, and the basketball community's really stepped up. You're gonna really get a feel for where the game has been and where the game's going. And we're getting a little tour of the South End with some of the new developments, some of the new building. So once again, Jim Kinney here with the Republican and Mass Live, doing Facebook Live from the City-to-City tour of the Pioneer Valley. And we're headed over to MGM right now, going through some of the South End construction. So that's the site where there's a couple of old grocery stores that get taken down. And we're coming into some of the MGM construction in past the coal vest building that's existed for a little while. But all this is new, and all this opens up in January. Where are we going to have lunch? Well, here, let's look at the itinerary. They're going to have boxed lunches at Gateway City Arts. I might be jumping off the tour by that point. But they've got, if I could read you their itinerary, after MGM, they go to the Pioneer Valley Riverfront Club at North Riverfront Park, and then the Green High Performance Computing Center in Holyoke, walking tour of the Innovation District, Gateway City Arts, leave Holyoke at 12:45, Ludlow Mills tour at 1:15, leave Ludlow Mills at 2:30, 3 p.m. at the Dr. Seuss Museum, Springfield Museums, in 415 Community Foundation, Western Massachusetts. So, and then there's Kid Talk presentations from Warren Masulis of the Springfield Innovation District, Liz Roberts of Valley Venture Ventures, Laura Wondolowski and Greg Rasheen, Leadership Pioneer Valley. And we just sort of zip on along. At 5:30, Union Station tour. 6:30, dinner at the Heidelberg Room at the Fort Restaurant. Soon, if all goes to plan. Now this is the old, this was an office building, and then it started life as the electric utility where you went to pay your power bill. And now it's part of the plan. We're going to pick up our guest here at Staten, Maine. Well, Shelley, we got a pep talk from Mayor Sarno earlier, where that's certainly the plan. So we've got this here. You can tell we're Down on State Street, there's a juvenile court. I'm trying. How's your facility coming? You're starting to work? Well, yeah. Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk. Sorry, Ellen. And look! It's the cat in the hat.
All right, now this is the flavor of the region.
Top of the morning to you. How's everybody doing? Excuse me. Let's sit down here. How is everyone? Good. Welcome to Springfield.
Very good.
All right. So yeah, we've got about 15 minutes or so.
15 minutes to kind of tell us about the
Sure.
And these are all people who are from the region.
Oh, from the region. Okay.
So we're
Local.
visiting ourselves. We usually visit other metro areas around the country.
Okay.
We thought, why don't we see what the story is in our own backyard that we kind of know, but we never kind of connect the dots.
Well, that's great. Okay. So
this is Alex Dixon from MGM.
Yes, great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Dixon. I humbly serve as the general manager at MGM Springfield. Today we've got a big employee town hall later on this afternoon, and trying to encourage the team to get dressed up, be all in, to make sure in terms of employee engagement. So you got to lead by example. So I'm doing all my meetings today. It's Cat in the Hat and Dr. Seuss. So this is going to get a lot of work. I was at a Saturday at a Halloween party, and tomorrow for Halloween, but we couldn't be more happy for you guys to join us here today. And so I thought I'd give you just a little bit of overview about what's coming together, and as we go around, can point some stuff out. And feel free along the way to ask any questions along the way and stop me. So we're here at the corner of State and Main. This is very shortly this 101 State Street building. MGM, we actually own this facility, as well as right behind us, 95 State Street. So 95 State Street is undergoing renovations, and the first 8 floors will open up after the first of the year. So we'll be able to move from our offices over in One Monarch Place. We take up 2 floors over there, and we're literally starting to build the team together. And literally, as we speak, on the 9th, 10th, and 11th floor, those floors are empty, but one of those is going to be reserved for our gaming school. So we've developed a partnership with Holyoke Community College as well as STIC, and we're going to be providing training for those folks who want to become table games dealers. So these are people who would go to school for up to 12 weeks, 4 hours a day, and really come in and learn about blackjack or craps or baccarat, and then be able to go out into the floor. And these are great opportunities. People can come in making anywhere from $45,000 to $50,000 based upon tips once the facility opens. So this is kind of really the highest paid, in many cases, frontline opportunity that people can have access to. And really all you need is a great attitude, the ability to count to 21, and then we can teach you the rest. And it's really just that simple. I mean, it's something, with the hand-eye coordination, it takes a lot. It's a craft. Literally, you have to work at it, but really all it takes is just a great attitude. And over the coming, really, 6 weeks, we'll really put on a push here in the Springfield area to try to get as many, not only residents, but people within the region, an opportunity to go in. So as we think about the rest of the building, we'll have everything from surveillance to HR to all of our back-of-house functions will be housed in 95 State, along with the second floor of the casino floor podium. And then as we come around the corner here, and as we go around, we'll be able to start to see some of the facades of the hotel. So we'll be able to see right off of Main Street, there'll be six-story hotel, 252 rooms. Towards the middle, as we get closer to Red Rose, we'll see the rotunda, which will house 6 of our suites. So these are about 1,300 square foot suites are just absolutely phenomenal. This is going to be some of the best room product that we have in our entire MGM portfolio, and we couldn't be more excited about bringing that product here to Springfield. On the second floor of that hotel, we have our spa, which is going to be just absolutely amazing. 7 treatment rooms with the ability to do your massages, your facials, all the things that, you know, a lot of folks head out to the Berkshires to be able to go get this high-end spa facility. We'll be able to do that right here within Springfield. On the bottom floor of the hotel, facing Main Street, is a lot of our fine dining. So we have a great steakhouse that we'll be able to bring to the market, and just having been here and done a lot of business meetings, it's going to be very fortunate for us to be able to get in there and do a phenomenal culinary job to be able to introduce a great steakhouse into the downtown urban core. Next to that is going to be is our Italian, and so through our research we've learned that there's a heavy concentration of Amalfi Coast Italians within the region, and so we've played on that into our design as well as our menu. I literally just met our new executive sous chef, who's going to play a big part of making that facility come into reality. As a subset of that Italian restaurant, we will have a retail store that will be a wine as well as charcuterie place where you can go in, sit down and have a glass of wine as well as some charcuterie. And if you like, let's say, that bottle of wine, you would be able to purchase it at retail and to be able to take it out. This is something that's relatively new within the Commonwealth. We spent a lot of time to make sure that we weren't just doing kind of, let's say, experiential package store, or packy, I'm learning the term here in New England, but this is some place where it is literally about the in-store experience, and you can pair that with, let's say, a bottle of wine as you go out. As we continue around the first floor, clearly we have a great casino product with well over 2,500 slot machines, clearly close to 100 tables, a great poker room that will be able to house some of the best poker games in New England. And then towards the back end of the facility, right here off of State Street, is our South End Market. And so within there, again, it accentuates our culinary offerings, where we're going to have, think of Italy, like if you've been into Boston and you see how these food courts are being transformed into kind of integrated, well built out food halls that will allow us to be able to have a number of fresh, made-to-order product. So if folks are coming from the courthouse or folks coming from anywhere else, will be able to go in for lunch, have a great meal in a great setting, communal seating, and we're really excited about that. But there'll be, you know, phenomenal gelato, another wine and cheese place. There'll be a great place where you can grab some noodles, a diner. You know, think of Whole Foods, where you're able to go in and kind of weigh food by the pound and have a great kind of made-to-order organic meal. And so this is something we're really excited about, the new offering. You know, gone are the days of Sbarro's, Panda Express, and an Nathan's. Nothing against those products at all, but you know what we're really trying to build is an elevated experience that someone can't find. Yes, sir.
Just one question about local produce. Will there be an opportunity to work with local farmers?
Absolutely. And so, I mean, I think that it's no longer a question of an opportunity. It's almost an expectation. Meaning, so, and one of the things is, as you highlight your menus, is really highlighting how you're able to get your products from locally, and really it's almost become marketing almost in many ways. And then the second part of that is our commitment to sustainability. And so if you think about global warming, so much of it is derived from literally getting foods from places you're probably where it takes a long place of doing it. And so just over long periods of time, you know, the focus is really just both on hey, it's cool, it's hip, it's modern, it tastes great, but also it removes the footprint of, you know, the carbon footprint around the globe. And so it's a two-pronged approach and focus on it. And so it's amazing we get those two sides of the house, both financial as well as kind of from a culinary side, working together. You can do great things, and that's what we're looking to do here as well. So as we continue to go around this first floor, We're going to have a tap sports bar, which is a great opportunity for us to be able to showcase, you know, kind of great burger product, great hot wings, and, you know, lots of TVs to be able to catch the games. It's a sports crazy region, I'm learning, and so we're going to have a great venue where we're able to highlight that. And as again, we continue on the first floor behind the tap sports bar, we move into a great kind of throwback arcade where you can play all the games of my youth. But this one is going to be a great opportunity where it kind of transcends into our retail footprint offering. And so behind that arcade, we then move into our bowling alley. So we have 10 lanes of bowling, and I'm learning about, again, learning about candlepin bowling, which is like pretty significant. I've got a number of folks reaching out, so we'll have to figure out how to incorporate that into the overall offering. But this is going to be a great opportunity. Think Lucky Strike or Brooklyn Bowl, kind of hip. You got the DJ playing, you got the music going, you know, and so it's a great place where you can kind of experience not only a high-end bowling experience, but it'll be extremely social, and we'll do that. It'll be different in the day part during the middle of the day versus in the afternoons and evenings. Behind that is, again, our further retail component, and that's anchored outside by something we just recently announced, which is our partnership with Kringle Candle. So Kringle, you'll see as you take the bus tour when we go down Main, you'll look to see the church, which we put on literally on these rollers and moved over to a Judd Union Street. And so Kringle will have a great store in there to do what they do best. In addition, they'll have some a food and beverage component in there where they can do hot apple cider, some cocos, some small pastries and desserts, and it'll be a great experience that they'll be able to look out right in front of our ice skating rink in the winter, and then we'll be able to do farmers markets in the summer and a lot of outdoor concerts, a lot of things to help activate that. That is going to be right next to Da Vinci Park. Da Vinci Park is right behind right behind Red Rose Pizza, and it's a park that will be turning back over to the city. But it'll be a phenomenal green space just to grip people all together. And that's really the first floor of the facility. Then we take it on to the second floor, and this is where it gets more exciting for those who love movies. We'll have a 8-theater movie theater that we're very close to announcing a national partner, but great leather reclined seating, nice space, be a nice food and beverage component in there as well. And then we'll have a 20,000 square feet of meeting and convention space. So on the first floor, on the second floor, they will have 3 rooms that break out. One is a 15,000 square foot facility where this will be the place to hold, charity functions, to do a number of different events that over time we've seen a lot of groups who hold their functions at our facilities, not only from the free parking, but as well as the as well as just the ambiance that it creates. Kind of social groups who host their functions at our facilities have seen just a significant uprise. Because a lot of times people say, hey, look, I may not come for the gambling, it's not really my thing, but if XYZ is holding their function there, it'll give me a reason to go. And so we've seen that in a number of cases, and we think that'll take place here as well for us. But we've got a 15,000 square foot, a 5,000 square foot room, and then a smaller 1,000 square foot that we can modify, as well as a boardroom. And so this gives us a great opportunity to host a number of different functions, professional development occasions. If you think my next door neighbor he's a dentist, and so they have a great opportunity where they bring folks together for continuing education. And so what we want to do is to make sure we're going after all these different pockets of business to say, hey, come do business in Springfield, and then come do business in Western Mass. That's a big part of our story, and we can't wait to get our doors open and be able to tell that.
So one of the early presentations I heard, or thought I heard, 70% of the gross receipts were non-gaming. Is that proportion changed at all?
So that's for the overall company, for MGM Resorts. For the property here, it's going to be a little bit more gaming-centric, let's say, than that. Just, in regional markets. So, for instance, we're building 250 hotel rooms, whereas in Las Vegas, you may have 4,000 hotel rooms at MGM Grand. And so from that standpoint, it's literally just the sizing. Now, it wouldn't have made sense, here to build 4,000 rooms. It's just, that doesn't make sense. But what we are doing is, if you look at our physical square footage, meaning like the square foot, is about 100,000 square feet of, let's say, true traditional kind of gaming space, but you got 14 acres, right, of the whole development that is a mixture of hospitality, retail, food and beverage, you know, kind of outdoor plaza environment, a number of different things.
So can you say what the proportion of the gross
much less than the 70-30, much less than the 70-30.
50-50?
No, I'd probably put it closer towards the, if I think of doing the math correctly, it's going to be much less, so I'd put it in almost a flip of that, meaning the flip, of the flip. And it's just, I mean, and that'll be publicly, once you get out, and that's consistent with, that'd probably be consistent with the Mohegan, consistent with the Foxwoods, consistent with any other regional facility. In Vegas, it's just the opposite. It's just the opposite. And so, but it's just an important point to be able to indicate.
Alex, where are you from? What's your background?
So sure, no, it's great. So born and raised in Las Vegas. I'm a third-generation casino employee. My family moved from the Deep South back in the 50s to move to Vegas when the Flamingo and the Dunes and the Bugsy Siegels of the world, and all these folks were kind of building Vegas into what it is today. We moved from the Deep South. My grandmother was a housekeeper, raised 9 kids on a housekeeping salary. My dad was a bartender for many years at the Flamingo. He then transferred and went into, he was a parole and probation officer. But he loved it so much, on the weekends he would go in and be a concert bartender. He loved the music, loved going to shows and seeing all the activity. And so it's truly a pleasure and an honor to be, you know, a general manager of a facility of this nature. And so it's Vegas is a unique place. Clearly I'm biased on the impact that not only gaming but hospitality can have within the area, but personally for my family, it's been a godsend, and so we're looking to make sure that we get it right here. And so a big portion of what we're doing is listening to the community, listening to what people's needs are, listening to what those opportunities can be. And so part of the opportunities we're driving here, 35% of the folks that we hire will be from the city of Springfield. And so that's going to be hopefully many more for future stories about people who can follow along a similar career path.
So I heard all of the amazing stuff that you guys are going to do,
Yep.
And you mentioned Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But being in an urban community,
Yep.
Are there any food or any stores or anything that's representative for
The bus is stopped here, and we're getting a little
so not ignoring
The question was about,
just hiring.
there was going to be an Italian restaurant. Well, but what about, because we have such a diverse ethnic, you know, melting pot here, what about that?
No, so I mean it's a phenomenal question. As I think about how we've designed the facility to be an in and out facility, and then the number of places that we have to do kind of integrated marketing and hospitality events is on our plaza. That's going to provide us an opportunity to be able to do, let's say, kind of whether it's pop-up restaurants, food trucks, other types of events to be able to have the offering. But what I'll say is just as a broad in a broad sense, our facility is all about keeping fresh and meeting the needs of our customers. And so if our customers say, hey, look, we want a great Puerto Rican restaurant, or we want a great Asian restaurant, or we want a great Irish restaurant, whatever it may be, is that we're in the business to be able to say, hey, look, we've got a big facility that, you know, we've gone to market, and here are the venues. But if the market demands that says, hey, look, we have an expanded area of this, a different offering here, is we're going to be the first to capitalize on it, because it makes sense. Because if our customers say we want it, or we need to provide an offering, it just doesn't make good business sense to not make sure that the product you're offering reflects the community in which you serve. And so I think this is a first stop, not the only stop in shot of doing that. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about your hiring? You said 35%, but I know you're blowing that goal out of the water. What are you hiring locally? What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So, so in terms of, let's talk about the positions and then kind of the efforts to be able to, let's say, to get out. So I think in terms of positions, literally everything under the sun. If you think of a hotel, we offer all the positions that a hotel would: the housekeeping, the front desk people, the hotel managers, facilities people, and then you think of in the restaurants, everything that a restaurant would offer. And so the vast majority of our roles are those front-facing kind of hospitality that some of their compensation comes in the form of base salary as well as in the form of tips. And then as you think about that mid-level management, you got supervisory roles across all those functions. But the highest volume of, let's say, roles will be, in terms of people, are going to be our table games department. And so much of this is going to be, as we partner with STIC, with Holyoke Community College, and then in the coming weeks, we make sure that we're out in the community to make sure we get those folks into these opportunities. It's going to be a big portion that of poker dealers, of table games dealers, slot attendants, M-Life Rewards recs. These are folks who are helping to get people signed up for their cards to be able to go on and play. We've got to make sure that we're broad-based, that we're reaching both Springfield residents and really making sure that we're an employer of choice. Because a lot of what we're going to do is some people are going to be employed today and are looking for either a career change or moving up in their whatever case they may be from their own personal perspective. So we're going to be an employer choice, but then there's going to be folks who are not within the workforce today who, they may be backfilling some other jobs of someone else be vacating. But if they're able to pass the Corey background, they're able to pass our own internal background checks, we want to make sure folks who have a good attitude, who have a willingness and ability to work, that they make sure they get on they get on board. Another data point I'll talk to you is we're working very closely with the PVTA and Sandra and the team over there, because one of the things I found in Baltimore was that your employees come from where your bus lines go, and so we're a 24-hour facility, and we're working hard to be able to say, how could we make sure that there's a bus that stops here on Main Street well into the night to make sure that those folks who may be in there cleaning the restaurants or serving in the restaurants or helping within the facilities, that they have access. Because right now the bus stops here at about 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So if you think about, we're all going to the restaurant, we clear out, the restaurant closes at midnight. There's a whole shift of people who come to work at 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so if, as that is a primary role, we want to make sure that we've got getting folks access to catching the bus so they can get off and come in. So we're working to say, hey, what would it take, or how can we identify what those routes would be and what that timing would be to be able to make sure people get access to come in. And so a lot of this about, in terms of workforce, it's not just of the, hey, where do you market or what jobs there are, but it's like literally putting yourself in the shoe of a frontline employee and saying is, what is that time period from the time I get up or leave my house to come in? So off-site, another piece is we announced our partnership with Head Start. So we're physically building a daycare facility to be able to not solve every solution, but hopefully it's to be another part of a pie to make sure that people have access to childcare. Because if you got to come to work, that means your children are someplace. Now, I'm very fortunate we have a team, my wife and I, of babysitters that we met, since we moved here, who can help do that. But not everyone has that access to good, reliable health care and child care. And so part of what we're doing in the early on stages is to make sure that we identify those resources that can marry those with people who need that break in life. Yes.
So I work closely with the South End Business Association, who've been talking with Mike Mathis and Dennis Murphy from the very beginning, and they're really hoping that we can all drive traffic down Main Street and not have it just stay in the footprint. What is your thinking about that? Because there's certainly Italian restaurants and eateries down the street.
No, that's great. And I think so I just recently joined the board of the Greater Springfield Convention Visitors Bureau, and then we're also working with the PVTA on a trolley route that will literally take people from our doors or other parts around the area, along Main Street, over to Basketball Hall of Fame, up to the Armory, into the Quadrangle, down to Union Station, so that we're able to move people kind of throughout. And so what we really want to make sure is we have a good broad-based group of people, alongside with the Cultural Council. Met a nice young lady, Morgan, who is really looking to make sure that she promotes the not only the arts, but we're talking to the macro businesses. She's going to help us make sure that we're talking to as well to the kind of literally the local buskers. I'm learning is a new term, the folks who are the street artists and doing things of that nature. So we're going to be working together on a collaboration that really I view this trolley is a physical manifestation about how we are connecting to the broader community. But in the broad sense is in order for us to be successful, as MGM, Western Massachusetts has to be successful, meaning we need to have people on the radar of whether or not you live in Worcester or you live in Hartford or you live in any of the areas within an hour and a half. And when people think about their destination, through research we've seen, it's not just about our facility. And so, what I think over long periods of time, we'll be able to win customers away from our competitors when people are able to see and come down a main street, just like as we're driving down, and be able to come to a vibrant place that has multiple restaurants and shops and everything else. If I think of West Hartford, if you think of that as a destination, they could have another restaurant open up, even though they're densely populated with restaurants, and that would be a positive thing because it would drive more traffic to it being a destination. If you think of Northampton, that is a destination that when we first came, people said, hey, go to Northampton, not necessarily go to this restaurant. And what we want people to say is go to Springfield, go to downtown Springfield, and we are literally, I truly believe this, a couple of coffee shops, a bar, a couple of restaurants, an art gallery away from being this hip kind of cultural destination along this corridor. And so when we talk about literally activation, Mass Mutual Center is now under our management. We recently took over in July. So if you think of between you've got the Worthington Street from that side all the way down to what's the bakery right here on Main Street? La Fiorentina. Right. If you think of that corridor, and hopefully it expands, right? Right. But it's a cool little walking space that you can get to a number of different places within 10 minutes. It's very walkable. And so as we talk to developers, right? So we're talking to developers who run hotels out from the Berkshires who are kicking around the tires of in and around here to say, hey, look, we want to be a part of the emerging kind of energy that's taking place. And so a big part of our story has got to be making Springfield a place where people view as a destination, no different than a Northampton, no different than a West Hartford. And so you do that not just by saying me, but us. And that's a big part of our goal.
So I'll leave it up to Alex. So we're going to go around the block now as we head to our next destination. So you can stay on the bus and tell us what we're seeing. Yeah. And then we drop you off here again. And then Andy will just take a left and go down towards the Riverfront Park. Right?
Can I just say one thing, Paul?
Yes.
You have an awesome wife, and now I know why. And thank you.
Oh, got it, yes.
Welcome to Springfield.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, she's.
Yeah, you want to use that too.
Okay, all right.
You okay to stand? Is he okay to stand? You're not going to
sit?
No, I'm fine. I'll hold tight. But there were a couple more questions I want to get to.
So
various questions.
We can head around the block now.
You have another question? No? Okay. Any other questions? Feel free to shout them out. So again, we're making a right here on the main street, and one of the first things we'll see on the right is the continued awning, but it'll open up and we'll see one of the facades. We did a facade-ectomy on one of these buildings here, and this is a place where I think it's President Taft stayed for a night, and then working with the Historical Commission, we made sure we preserved the windows in those buildings.
And this older building down, that will be like the front of that's the entranceway to the casino?
Correct. There won't be any entrances off of this Union Street side. They're at the South End Market, at the very tail here. That will be an outdoor patio where people are coming from that Italy-like experience I was talking about. Will be able to eat outside. And so if you're walking from the courthouse, the goal is hopefully get a lot of the courthouse folks, kind of on their lunch break to be able to pop right in, for lunch, and so a lot of times people can access all of the restaurants. If I'm thinking, all the restaurants can be accessed without going through the gaming floor. And so I think that's an important point as you think about, really it's going to be a place for all ages who want to be able to get into a restaurant and not necessarily interact with the gaming environment.
And this scaffolding here, this would be.
This is the length of the hotel. So this building will stay here, 101. But then as you look through this scaffolding, and you'll see a little break here along the way, it's really got 6 different facades. Maybe not 6, but different facades along the building that'll make it pop to look at. It's not just one big single structure. And we're coming up here in just a few feet.
We'll take the next right.
You'll see this is again some of the facade that was maintained, and it's literally, when you see on the other side of that, screws I've never seen the size in my life, but sticking into the back of those of the brick wall, making sure. So this here below is our steakhouse through these doors. We've got a great local retailer that will be right along here. Let's see, we can pull up. Well, no, it's probably gonna be tough to back up. I would just keep. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Yeah.
Have to go to the light, I guess.
But as you look down this street here, this Howard Street, you can look into our market, outdoor plaza, and so you see there the Armory building. It was old Springfield. There was a community center, South End Community Center. And here towards this edge, this will be another restaurant and kind of retail space here on this corner eventually. And then again to the right, you see the church, and right behind Red Rose here will be the Da Vinci Park. To the left, you really can't see it, but there's an open pad. There's a lot of interest in what is potential for at this corner here of Union in Maine. And behind that is where the Head Start daycare facility will be. So very close, very walkable.
So what's this going to be?
No, so it's still emerging, But this gives you a good purview. Again, the hotel tower to the right. We call this the lower podium here. On the left-hand side, great outdoor space that we'll be able to activate. Where these trailers are, this is where the park will be as we ramp down. So this is the back side. We're eventually the Armory, what we're going to call it, and then you've got here with the church where Kringle will have their retail operations. Bowling along the left, and then that corridor with the scaffolding kind of breaks it. The garage opens up. We'll be able to accommodate more parkers in there.
Another exit ramp as well?
There is. So there's another exit ramp off what we're calling MGM Way, and there's another exit ramp here behind this Colvest building. So our employment center, which we'll be announcing here relatively soon, will be on the 3rd floor of this Mr. Colicino, who owns this building. We're leasing some space on the 3rd floor there. And so we're excited. That's where we'll do a lot of our pre-employment processing. You see here, right as we get past this truck, there will be another exit here from some our kind of first floor partners will be able to access to get out here as well. So on the side of the building, you can't really see it from here. Actually, so there'll be a big sign up there, MGM Springfield, indicating you've here from 91, and then there'll be other digital signage as well. So this would be another main access point. You'd be able to drive right down Bliss Street, turn right into the garage, and get on the speed ramp. And from the facade, we painted all of the garage. It's all white inside. It reflects the light. And it gives a really just kind of great, safe, warm, and inviting environment.
How many visitors a year would you expect?
So this is always predicting the future. So it's kind of predicting your revenues and what split of that's going to be, or predicting the visitors. And so, you know, I'd say anywhere from 5 to 7 million visits, you know, a year. And so it's going to be great. Hopefully more.
How will you connect visitors to like the Basketball Hall of Fame or the Seuss Museum or any of that stuff?
Yeah, so I think, I'd say two things. One, the beauty of this corridor is that A, it's very walkable, but two, we will have a trolley that will be able to connect people from all the facilities, and we're working with the PBTA, again, Morgan, as well as the GSCVB, along with the City Planning Commission, to kind of physically promote that. But more so than any of the physical, whether it's the walking trails or the trolley, it's really educating our employees to let them know that as you have people who come to the area and they say, hey, what should I go do after my dinner or whatever else, you've got an educated employee who's able to say, hey, you should really go check out the Armory. You should really go check out the Springfield museums. And that is more important than any physical walking sign or any bus that we can operate.
So Alex, there is some concern in the region about your ability to pull in people and employ their employees. Can you talk a little bit about the salary ranges that you're looking at?
Yeah, so the questions about not only salary ranges, but then our ability to, let's say, to pull people in. And so I think first and foremost is we're going to be competitive, and we look at each and every step along the way in terms of the roles, and we do a regional comparison, and then be able to say, hey, what are other people in the market doing in terms of a salary perspective? And so there's two components to that. One is we have a project labor agreement, and so the vast majority of our roles will be union. And so they'll be competitive with union rates and be able to do that. So we'll be able to not only leverage our union partners to help us to make sure we find, cultivate employees, but from a salary standpoint is we have to be competitive in order to be able to get folks who may not necessarily have worked a midnight or overnight shift or have worked, you know, in a 24-hour environment. And so from a salary perspective, you can range from a table games dealer who may open making, let's say, $5, $6 an hour from a salary perspective or a wage perspective, but they can end up making $20, $25 an hour kind of all in with their compensation. You know, that's the most attractive, but there will be very few purely, let's say, will be above minimum, significantly above minimum wage for a vast majority of our roles, because in order to be able to attract and retain people, you've got to be competitive.
Yeah, like the bus line.
What are you most proud of?
Most proud of? No, it's a great question. I think most proud of, and something it won't get, let's say, a lot of attention, but there was a day our leader, Mike Mathis, who many of you may have met, but when we went and testified at the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, that we were advocating for there being a classification of employees who did not have to go through, let's say, the same rigorous licensing that we did, or let's say a Steve Wynn did, to be able to say, hey, look, why should it be any tougher to work for us at a bowling alley here in Springfield than it is to work at a bowling alley someplace else? So there's a whole classification of people who've made a mistake in their life, right, but need access to kind of get back on the right track. And so, you know, we're going to build a beautiful building. We're going to do a lot of things, but what I'm most proud of is when someone who may have been locked out of employment, right, is in the future going to be able to get a job with us and be able to buy a home or just become a part of the middle class. I mean,
we're going to let Alex get off the bus here, actually, so we can head to our next bus stop.
But that's what I'm most proud of. That's what I'm most proud of. Thank you guys. Have a great day. And thank you for showing Springfield. Yay. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
That is a great accomplishment. That is a great accomplishment.
Thank you for dressing up.
Yes.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Once again, this is Jim Kinney with Mass Live and the Republican, doing a Facebook Live, wrapping up a Facebook Live tour of the MGM Springfield site. You just saw the general manager giving a little talk. And now we're headed off. They've got the City2City tour typically went to other locations, and today they're touring Springfield, learning about what's in the Pioneer Valley. And now they're headed to the north end, and I'm going to zip along with them. But I'm going to wrap up the Facebook Live now.